Can you buy culture? Well, who wishes they could? The amount of times we've walked into big corporations, even small businesses, and saying, hey, if we could give you a product, if you could pay $10,000 for a fantastic culture, you'd be able to make that $10,000 tomorrow, couldn't you? Why can't you buy culture?
It's earned.
It's earned? Yep. Where does culture come from? Perception?
It's core beliefs.
External? What is Tim talking about here? Where in this scale does culture come into play? Community? For the top? Trick question, both. Culture has to come from the top down and also be exercised from the bottom up. Culture is a derivative of leadership in an organisation and a corporation, but has to be implemented and absorbed and executed every day by people in and around every single level of the organisation. Yep? Agree with me? Some of the best businesses I've ever worked in and around that have the best culture are those that have been founded and still owned and operated by the original founder. Because they started off on their vision with their own set of values, their own vision, their own culture, and then carried that through their corporation and then lead with it from the top. The biggest issues when we go into large businesses whereby there's been rotations of that senior leadership, the custodianship comes into place. And you're essentially transplanting individual values into a cultural network and trying to maintain that impetus. We then go into what is the commercial drive these days, and that's the focus on achieving performance. Efficiencies over effectiveness. We spoke about that previously. Who can tell me the difference between being efficient and being effective? Being efficient is doing the right things. Is it? I just got that wrong. Being efficient is doing the right things. Being effective is doing what is right. Particularly applying that to the context of if you're here, who has their own business? Who's recently started up their own business? Cool? Doing these things from the start is so pivotal, particularly when we're in the startup mode. Essentially doing the right things to get as quick as we can to the most efficient output of revenue is a short-term goal and a short-term focus. Then usually what happens is when people have more money, more of a security blanket, more of a security buffer to enable them to go back and invest in their people, they actually have to dig up that efficient path that they laid to lay an effective one. The focus to achieve revenue often gets in the way of the way we need to build and develop and motivate our people to achieve their intrinsic value.